Thank you, Madam Clerk. Welcome, everybody. Councillor Barfoot and Councillor Sutherland have sent their regrets for tonight. We'll call the meeting to order. I'll start off with our land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge with respect to history, spirituality, and culture of the Anishinaabe, the people of the Three Fires known as the Ojibwe, Odawa, Potawatomi nations who have inhabited this land from time immemorial. And further give thanks to the Chippewa, Saugeen, and the Chippewa Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. We also recognize the Métis and Inuit whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. May we all, as treaty people, live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship with all its diverse people. Approval of the agenda. Is there any add-ons to our agenda here today? See none. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the remainder of council, it would be staff's recommendation that we defer the scheduled closed session this evening listed as agenda item 19.1. It is recommended that we postpone this discussion until all of council can be present to participate.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Does council agree with staff? Everyone shaking their heads yes. Okay. So I'll read the recommendation that the council agenda be approved as amended. Someone to put it on the floor, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Carlton, second by Councillor Colburn. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? See none. A show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? It is carried. Declaration of peculiar interest. You can clear any time you see fit during the meeting. Minutes of the previous minutes. The recommendation is that the minutes of the council meeting held on February 16th, 2022 be adopted. Someone to move put it on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Pringle, second by Councillor Thompson. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? A show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. The next recommendation is that the minutes of the special council meeting held on February 22nd, 2022 be adopted. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Colburn, second by Deputy Mayor Carlton. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? A show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? It is carried. We have no announcements. We have no public hearings, no delegations. We're now down to the consent agenda. Does any member of council wish to pull an item from the list? Deputy Mayor Carlton.
I would like to pull the Ministry of Transportation one and ask that that be forwarded to Police Services Board. And then the ones at the end, the resolutions about the Ontario Land Tribunal, just to ask for more information from staff.
So that's 9.1.1?
9.1.1 and 9.3, all of those.
Okay. Is there no other items to be pulled? I'll read the recommendation. That the Council of Towns of Georgian must adopt a consent agenda for information as circulated less 9.1.1 and 9.3.1. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Pringle, second by Councillor Colburn. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? A show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? It is carried. We're now down to consent items separated from consent agenda. Deputy Mayor Carlton, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the first item, the 9.1.1, when I read through that, I wondered if our Police Services Board shouldn't look at that to see if there's any thing that we need to be aware of there or how that would impact us. So I would just refer that to that board.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just considering both items procedurally, referrals do require a motion of council. So Deputy Mayor has moved it. If we could have a seconder and then a vote in favor of the referral.
Okay, thank you. Each item at a time. Moved by Councillor Pringle. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? See none, a show of hands, all in favor? The motion is carried. Your next item, Deputy Mayor?
The next item has to do with the Ontario Land Tribunal. And I would like to ask our planner to perhaps bring back a report on how that affects us. I noticed that most of those municipalities who are asking to have the Ontario Land Tribunal closed down are larger urban, and I wonder if that's the best thing for us here as a smaller urban, or if there would be a reason we would want to keep it going, or would we support shutting it down, and what would the other options be? And I think that's not something staff can answer off the top of their head, so I would ask that at some future point we have a report back on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think maybe it'd be appropriate if it went through the planners, through the CEO, back to council as a report. Councillor Colburn, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just add to the Deputy Mayor's comments and requests for information. It would be, I think, helpful for us to know how many appeals have gone forward through this tribunal since its inception, and what kind of an impact it's had to date on our municipality as well. So just some historical information.
And I agree 100%. Does someone to move to put on the floor, please? Moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Deputy Mayor. If there's no other discussion on this item, show of hands, all in favor. Opposed, it is carried. Okay, look forward to the report. We know correspondence. We're down to committee reports now. The recommendation is that the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held on March 9th, 2022 be adopted, including recommendation COW 2022-015 to COW 2022-019. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Deputy Mayor Carleton. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? See none, a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed, it is carried. We have no staff reports. We're down to bylaws.
Mr. Mayor, if I can just interject, I'd like to just note for the record that no one had registered for public question period.
Sorry, I missed that. Okay. So we are now down to bylaws. Further to report PL 2022-05 recommendations of COW 2022-05 approved at the March 9th, 22 meeting of the Committee of the Whole. Being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 2020 as it affects lands described as concession 16 PT lot 20 RP 16R 6612 part 2 Keppel in the township of Georgian Bluffs. The recommendation is whereas council has given consideration to the written comments submitted by the agencies and the decisions on proposed zoning bylaw amendment application Z1621 for Carmela for property located at 382488 concession 17, and whereas council has considered oral submissions made at the public meeting, therefore it be resolved that council of the township of Georgian Bluffs is satisfied that the proposed amendment is consistent with the provincial policy statement 2020 and other governing regulations. The bylaw 2022-015 be read a first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed of the corporation, and endorsed in the bylaw book. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Pringle, second by Councillor Thompson. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? See none, a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed, the motion is carried. Now to other bylaws. The recommendation is that bylaw 2022-016 being a bylaw to appoint a deputy treasurer be read a first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor, clerk, sealed of the corporation, and endorsed in the bylaw book. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Carleton, second by Councillor Colburn. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? See none, a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? It's carried. We know unfinished business. We know new business. So we're down to our confirming bylaw.
Mr.
But-
Mayor, if I can interrupt. We're just, the item 18, notice of motion, just confirming that there are none to be brought forth tonight.
Seeing none. Just going along a little bit too quick. Okay, I'll move down to our confirming bylaw next. The bylaw number 2022-17 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council on March 16th, 2022 be read a first, second, third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed the corporation, and endorsed in the bylaw book. Someone to move to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Colburn, second by Councillor Pringle. Is there any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none, a show of hands, all in favor? Opposed? It is carried. Wow. We know the business here tonight. Our next meeting is March the 23rd at 5 o'clock. So I'll ask for a motion of adjournment. Moved by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Pringle. There's no discussion. The show of hands, all in favor of adjournment. No opposed. We are now adjourned. Thank you, everybody.